Many people whom I know who turned out to be abroad or just away from their home in other cities of Ukraine, somewhere of the West, no one has a feeling how deep you should root, how long you will spend there, and this feeling of not knowing your future, of undefinity. It's something that stresses a lot, but I would say that this approach which I described, day by day, week by week, it is something that helps you to stick with the moment and not to worry about something in a long-term perspective.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yellow Van Stories. I'm your host and driver, Bastian. Thank you for making the time to come on board with us today. We've been waiting just for you and kept your usual seat by the window side. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the topic of the second season became very clear to us. We decided to invite Ukrainians into the van to share their stories with us and to learn more about Ukraine's cultural identity. Because too often it has been appropriated by a chauvinistic Russian narrative. And the same narrative now serves as a pretense to the war. Supporting Ukraine, in our opinion, therefore has a very strong cultural dimension as well. Fonzie is in for a ski already and we are good to go, so buckle up and sit back, because today we're going to a rather unexpected place, to Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, to pick up Anastasiya. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yellow Van Stories. Here with us today is Anastasiia Sanzharovska, a producer, director and video editor from Kyiv in Ukraine. Very happy to have you with us today, Anastassia.
Thank you, Bastian. Happy to be here.
Very nice that you found the time. This has been some time in the making. So we have finally aligned our schedules. That's fantastic. And I'm very, very happy that you found the time today. I will just give a quick introduction to the listeners of what you do, a little bit of an outlook on our conversation today, and then we'll dive right in. How does that sound?
Yes, Bastian, ready to hit.
Anastasiia Sancharovska is a producer, director, and video editor from Kyiv in Ukraine. She originally studied system analysis and maths, but turned to her real passion, film, soon after finishing her studies. She has been working as a producer, director, first AD, and video editor ever since. In February 2022, Anastasiya was in Egypt for a 3-week holiday, but got stuck there due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. She has been living there ever since. We'll talk about her early beginnings in filmmaking, why she chose film over maths, the Ukrainian TV scene, and her life in Egypt. And, as always, a lot more. Welcome to the Yellow Van, Anastasiya. So, where are you at the moment, actually?
I'm in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh. It's a small town in southern Sinai.
And how is life in Egypt? To just start with a very, broad question right away.
Actually, I would say it's kind of the opposite to the life in Europe or in Ukraine, because they have another mentality, another approach, what was the most challenging for me personally, they have another attitude to time. So, for example, I know that Germans are very punctual and Egyptians are just on the opposite side, because they can be late for 2 hours, 4 hours.
I understand. I mean, I wouldn't say that I am necessarily a picture book German. I also am known to be late sometimes. I do very much differ. The funny thing is that I differentiate very much between my private time and professional time. When I'm, somewhere professionally, I'm always there ahead of time generally. But in my private life, I sometimes give a little more slack. So I think I have both worlds. Also, I know this can also be a cultural thing. I agree. So is that something that you've gotten used to, or is it something that still annoys you quite a bit?
I would say that I'm starting to accept this funny fact and this part of their personalities. But sometimes, yes, I still, I would say I'm okay with it in personal life. But if I know that we have agreement with someone about shooting and my boss is running late, so yeah, if he is very late, it is annoying because I still feel responsible for our agreements or something like that, although it's not my word, it's his word. still I'm not very comfortable of being late, especially knowing that sometimes you will need to like work with foreigners or with people outside of the country, and they have more classical attitude to time and to scheduling, to timetable.
I like how you put it, classical attitude towards time. I like that. That's a very classical attitude towards time. Absolutely. Well, yes, but I know, I grew up in Africa, in South Africa to be exact, actually. And I've been in some places. And yeah, and time is always, it's a very cultural thing, actually. That's very true. The perception of it and how you deal with it. Absolutely. So before we get deeper into that, I would very much like to actually start with you first, your journey into filmmaking. Because like I said in the beginning already, you studied system analysis and maths, and it's quite a long stretch from system analysis and maths to filmmaking. How did that happen? Would you care to just describe that journey a little bit for us?
Yes, sure. Basically, I finished my bachelor degree, which was maths, and I wasn't exactly sure what to do further in my life. I already had a part-time job as economist in bank, so I was combining it with my studies. But I kind of didn't feel that it is something I'm looking forward to do my whole life. And I already persuaded that IT and software engineering is also not my cup of tea. And pure math is not something you can really use to build career or to earn money unless you want to make it like science or unless you want to become a teacher or a lecturer. Also not something I was looking forward to. So basically, I decided to continue my studies and to take some more time to decide what to do in my future. But in the meantime, I accidentally found out that there is a film school in Kyiv and that they have an open door day. And I went there and understand that I want to continue in this direction, but I wasn't ready to start my year program immediately or to do something like big, to take more responsibilities. But they started organizing some events, maybe once a week, some lectures for everyone. And I started attending, and that was something I was looking forward really, because I had my studies, I had my job at bank. Sometimes I was doing some sports, but basically all my passion and all my concentration was going to these lectures, these meetups, these master classes, or whatever is organized. Actually, my initial plan was to finish my magistery, my master program with system analysis, which takes 2 years, and then go to film school. But eventually I couldn't wait longer than 1 year, so I enrolled into film school, and I was finishing my master degree at the same year.
What was it about film that was it like, yeah, this is definitely something other than maths or system analysis, something that I can see myself do long term? Was there like a trigger or something? Like, did you like a film? I don't know, like something that triggered it?
I don't know what exactly triggered, because there was a bunch of facts. Basically, when I am thinking about even my last years of school, I was thinking about doing something in this direction, but I wasn't very confident, and I was thinking that it's too early to start when you're just 17. You have no experience in life, and you haven't seen much. And it was step by step. I was getting to know better to this profession, to this industry, to some of details I didn't even think about. That it's not only being creative and else, it's also about business. It's also about you need to stick with demands of producers and with demands of the industry, with something that you will be able to sell afterwards. And sometimes it's exhausting. It takes much more hours than a normal office day, and it doesn't have this boring but easy schedule, I would say. And afterwards, I started during this master classes, I filmed some short exercises, and I understood that I really feel good during the process. It inspires. Although even sometimes, first times I was really stressed and sometimes awkward and didn't know what to do, but still like a couple of hours later, I was starting feeling myself more comfortable and more confident, and I started enjoying. And even at the end of the day, when you're completely exhausted and you have no power, afterwards, when you start editing or when you recollect what you've done, when you realize that this is like a small child of yours, it's just something inspiring about it. I'm not sure if I did actually answer your question, because maybe it's not something I can explain rationally, but it's more about some inner feelings, some emotions, and you just feel that it is right for you, that is something you want to do.
No, I think you absolutely answered the question. I mean, you answered with passion. I mean, obviously, this is something that that goes a long way for something that you will do for the rest of your life, I believe. So I think there's probably a lot in that. So that's what was your first paid job that you got after you realized this is something I want to get into? I want to stick with this.
My first paid job, actually, I would say there were some very small jobs. Once I edited a short video for some center of kids development, just I edited small video for a kids concert. I think that was the very first job, but it was even before this full course in film school. At first, I took a short course on video editing, and this is something I found after that. Yeah, and also another small paid job was a clapper girl, like 2 days of being a clapper girl on a documentary project. It was almost at the same time when I was finishing my diploma movie. But the long-term job, the normal job which it got was producer assistant. And yes, it was something I was doing for about a year. And it was maybe months later or almost immediately I finished my film school. So yeah, I would say this was my first normal paid job.
And you also, like, when you did film school, you obviously met a lot of people, right? Is that also one of the things that are valuable about actually going to a film school, that you connect, you build a network, you have people that share the same passion? How was that for you?
Definitely, yes. You meet a lot of people, but one detail was me and my friends. Everyone was thinking, okay, I will go to film school. I will meet famous directors, famous producers, and else, and else, and else. But the idea, okay, you have lectures, you have some people who come to share information with you or who guide you all the time. But mostly you meet with the same beginners as you are. And it's not a bad thing, but just I don't know why all of us have these expectations, because it's not exactly what happens. But you build a great connections with these guys, and even, you met this person, and after a year or two, you're meeting already, you meet them on bigger projects, you meet them on the shooting, on the shooting set, and actually, if you're really passionate about it, you will continue moving in this direction, and you will deal with the same people, but they will become professionals after quite a short period of time. So it's not that you should think, oh, they don't know anything. You also don't know anything, but give it 2 years and you will reach another level.
To be honest with you, I sometimes feel like I still don't know anything as well. And I've been doing this for 15 years, a lot of it. I mean, so I feel there's still so much to learn, and so many new things that you want to kind of bring to fruition, or ideas that you have that require new talents, new everything. So I sometimes feel like, movies are, and filmmaking and also photography, they're always new beginnings. And the more certain you are, of course, you can build up on some experience you've gathered over the years, but it's also that you shouldn't be feel too safe about what you know, but to also realize with every project there's a lot more to discover. At least that's how it is for me. How is that for you?
I would actually agree, because every new project was bringing some new point of view for me, or new tasks, or I don't know, new format or whatever. And of course, it's normal to feel that you don't know anything. I don't think it is possible to learn anything, because it's creative. It's very wide broad. It's combination of your knowledge and your talent. And I just wouldn't say that you need to stick with something that, okay, I can do this, and it's enough. You will always find a new ways to develop yourself, to maybe just switch from one profession in filmmaking to another, or to combine two professions because, for example, like my passion is directing, but I understand that to be a really good director, you need to know quite a lot about screenwriting, quite a lot about acting and working with actors, and quite a lot about how camera works. So it's basically director of photography or cameraman job. And there is even a point of view that most famous directors are stronger in one of these fields, in one of these three fields, than in other. So basically, yes, to become a good director, you need to combine all the other professions around it, and to feel professional enough to make your movie of a really good quality.
Yes, that's a very valid point. It's like you are, as the director, your main focus is the story, obviously, and to bring it all together. And then everybody else has a special focus on their task, which is why I think also what you said earlier, or what I read in what you said, is the many layers in filmmaking is also something that you love about filmmaking. So this is a part of it, and I think a director brings all the layers kind of together. Even though I'm a documentary filmmaker, I'm not pretending that documentary filmmaker is the same as a feature filmmaker, because it's a different process. Even though obviously some of the technology is the same and stuff, but even that is not always the case. So there's definitely a difference there. But you also said, or I know about you, that you worked in the Ukrainian TV scene for some time. What series were you a part of?
It was The Trace. It's a detective TV series about a group of, let's say, policemen, but not exactly policemen, special forces, who investigate crimes, who catch the criminals, and who make some experiments with evidences and all of that. So yeah, I think it's similar to this detective stories, which I'm pretty sure every country has on TV.
Yes.
Yeah, for me it was pretty much new and challenging, because it was the biggest project I've ever participated in. It was about 40 people on the set every time, and I was first AD, first assistant director, and my tasks included managing these people and taking care of timetable, of everything to happen in time, of not being late, of checking if everyone is ready for the next scene, and this sort of stuff.
Yeah, first AD is a very demanding job, right? For everyone who's not aware of a first assistant director, it's a very demanding job. Like, you are always available, actually, to everyone, right? Like whenever something comes up, you are one of the first in lines to make sure that it all works out. So it's a very demanding job. How long did you do that for?
Not very long, actually. I would say months and a half or something like that. But it's actually quite exhausting, because normally on this kind of series, no one ever has enough money to give enough of shooting days, and that's why people are always in a rush, and they're trying to do, for example, in our case, normally it should be 8 shooting days per 2 series, because actually 2 series production was always combined into one. We call it pool. So one pool includes shooting, preparing to shoot and shooting of 2 series, 2 episodes. And normally there should be 8 shooting days, but we had 7. So from the very beginning, everyone understood that we need to be faster. We need to cut on some preparation. We need to combine some stuff together and all of that. So yeah, it was pretty much challenging.
Okay. That brings me actually to another question. I would very much like to ask you if you could describe the Ukrainian TV scene a little bit. I mean, I know this is a very broad question. It definitely varies, also depending what the series is, and various other variables, I suppose. But what is it like from financing? Also, is there like public money that goes into TV series, for instance? Is it all private money that goes in there, like private channels? How is it? How does it work? Can you give us a bit of a description, like an assessment of it?
Yes, I understand the question. Actually, it depends. It could be both. From the one hand, we have some institutions, governmental institutions, then which give finances for film production, or sometimes also TV series production. There are open pitchings. So basically, it's your chance to prepare all the documentation of your project, like the screenplay, and the budgeting, the crew, and all of that. And you apply for financiation. You have a chance to protect your project, to tell about it, to present it, and after that, you have a chance to actually get this money. From another hand, there are many TV channels, maybe around 5 or 8, big enough and interested enough in producing their own TV series. And basically what they do, they produce their own products. So they hire the screenwriters. Basically, I would even say they hire the productions, and production finds the screenwriters, the directors, and creates the crew who will shoot the TV series on demand of the TV channel. So it could be both private money and governmental money.
All right. And how would you say, is it, do you have a rich TV scene for series and such? Do you have a wide variety? Is it quite small, for instance, like with very limited series? How do you see it compared also to, other TV landscapes, if you're familiar with any? I don't know. Like Germany has obviously a large TV scene because it is a big and large country and a wealthy country, right? So how does it compare to that? Like not necessarily just to the German TV scene. I know that's very specific, but in general, if you have any references.
Well, of course, our TV series production is not that big as American, for example, which we all know. And,
which everybody knows, exactly.
Yes. I mean, basically, I will give a little bit of historical perspective. Before 2014,
Gladly.
Ukrainian TV market and movie market was generally making this kind of products for Russian market, mostly, unfortunately. In 2014, war started. Russia entered Crimea, Donbass, and we also had a revolution. So basically, this was the year when the separation in many industries began, and also including film industry. So from that moment on, we started creating our own movies and also our own TV series. At first, of course, when something is just starting, it's of not very good quality, of not very high level. And mostly we had quite stereotypical TV series. It actually depended a lot on the channel. Most channels had romance, melodrama about a woman who is suffering because of her husband or because she's single, and like how she's overcoming all of this. There were some men's channels who filmed action, who filmed fighting, who filmed criminals, detective TV series, and all of that. I would say recently, maybe during the last 3 years around, channels started experimenting. They started shooting some teens TV series or detective, but not stereotypical. When you have a new crime each episode, and you have the team which works on these crimes from episode to episode. They started changing formats, and sometimes they even got better financiation, and so they could be more cinematographic, more inventive in the plot. So basically it's like what I see from TV industries, for example, not only TV, from film industries, both in Ukraine and, for example, in Egypt. There is always a stage when you do a lot of bad quality projects, but you just need to make them a lot, and for everyone to get experience, directors, screenwriters,
Yes.
cinematographers. So at first you try, at first you make mistakes, you study from these mistakes, and then afterwards, from 100 bad projects there will be 5 good, from 100 projects
Yeah.
there will be 10 good. And so basically that's how it built, and I would say we're still on this in the middle of this process. Unfortunately, because of war, it will not be as fast as it could have been. Because as I told, just 2 or 3 years before, it started becoming good quality, and we started having these projects which we could present, and also Ukrainian movies were presented on Berlinale, on Venice Film Festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that is taking. I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but with the war, I'm sure that this is first of all. I mean, even to say that is a major setback, it's a major setback for everything. But like you just said, of course, as well, like it's not just the money, it's not just the infrastructure. It's also that you have a running history of movie making to make the mistakes and have the teams in place to create better and better content, right? This is how I understood what you said. So this is very, very
Yeah, yeah.
important to have a line of progression in a way. And now there has been this cut. Do you know at the moment how it is in Ukraine, like film and TV production? Is there, how much has it suffered? How much is there still going on at this moment?
Actually, I see both bad and good news. Because, for example, some of the people I know, my cameraman, he said he didn't have much projects for like previous year, but he's hoping that with this spring, with this season, maybe he will have more. I also know a girl who is the head of art department, and actually she was working on commercials, on short movies, on music videos. But now I see that she mostly works on some, YouTube projects. So basically, it's not the level of the projects she used to have before war. But at the same time, I see that some TV series which were paused during first year of war, uh, people at first people were waiting what will happen next, like should they continue or should they wait and it will come back to normal. But I see that they resumed producing this TV series with new limitation, of course, because we still have electricity shortcuts. So now if you're going to shoot, you always need to have a generator not to be cut out of electricity just in case. And you can't go on top floors because you need to use generator from the window just in case, or you can't be stuck and not to be stuck in the elevator. And of course, we also have like some restrictions during nighttime. No one should be at the streets. I don't remember from what hour till what, but approximately from
Yeah, the
11 or
curfew.
12 at night, yes, to 5 or
Yeah.
6 in the morning. So always, also, if you're planning a night shift, you should be aware of this, and you can't, you need to adjust. And sometimes you
Obviously.
have these alarms, air sirens, when everyone should go to shelter, and sometimes it takes half an hour, sometimes it takes 2 hours, and basically, yes, you will be 2 hours late during your shift if you spend 2 hours in the shelter, but what can you do? It's not something you can predict, or not something you can schedule, unfortunately.
Yes. And obviously, just to point out, not that it's really needed, but this obviously goes for every profession, everything that is going on in Ukraine. Now we just have a focus here on the film and TV
Yeah.
industry, right? Because that's what you happen to know that very well, and that's where you are coming from. But this is the same for every profession, for every job, everything that needs to be done in Ukraine right now. It cannot just happen. There will always be these interruptions. There will be power cutouts. So whatever is happening to move Ukraine forward is just constantly stalled and delayed, and that it in itself is also must be incredibly painful to watch and experience every single day. I would like to go with you to how you ended up in Egypt, like to that story, why you are in Sharm el Sheikh now, and how that all came about. So can we maybe start together at the point where you decided to take a vacation in Sharm el Sheikh? So when you landed there and you had your vacation, was looking forward to vacation after, I'm sure you had been working a lot. And what happened then?
I arrived for 3 weeks. With a suitcase, and still this suitcase is the only things I have. Basically, I don't know. It's I'm slightly distracted, but for me it's just so funny because at home I always had a lot of stuff and like equipments, like computer, like a lot of clothes and all of that, and I never thought that I can live just with one suitcase of things, but now I do, and it seems not that bad. It seems good. Like you don't need to take care of a lot of stuff and all of that. Yeah, but coming back to my vacation, yes, I arrived to Egypt on February 9 in 2022. So basically, it's 2 weeks before the war started.
When was your departure scheduled?
2nd of March. And actually, I was thinking that I will come back, and I was already negotiating about my next job. It was in a film distribution company. It was also like a new field for me. But then the war started, and during the first 3 or 4 days, I was just paralyzed. I didn't know what to do. I was sleeping, crying, reading the news, and that was the only things I could do during the first 3 or 4 days. Then, when the first shock left me, I started thinking like what to do next, what to do what to look forward. Because at first everyone was thinking, okay, maybe it will take like couple of weeks or a month. Let's see what happens next. Maybe everything will be solved somehow. And I don't know. I heard that there are 3 reactions to stress, like stay, hit, or run. And I think my reaction was stay. I thought, okay, I already spent here some time. I slightly got used to this lifestyle, and it was February and beginning of March then, so it was still pretty cold in Europe. And I didn't have like much warm clothes with me. I came here in sneakers and leather jacket. So I decided that, okay, I will just stay for some time here. I will try to figure out what to do. So I rented an apartment for another month. And a couple of weeks later, I was talking also with my parents, and I was reading a lot of forecasts, let's say that, and everyone was then saying that maybe it will not finish fast, so it's something that we will live with for a long time. And I was thinking, okay, what to do next? Of course, basically.
Sorry, can I just, Anastassia, just very quickly, because this is interesting to me, because in the beginning, everybody here, I mean, what I'm saying, but a lot of people outside of Ukraine, a lot of voices said, this war will be over soon, but in the sense that Russia will run over Ukraine, occupy it, and the war will be done, right? Everybody was predicting Ukraine will go under and Russia will have its way with it, basically. Now, luckily, that did not happen. But at the time, just after it happened, how were these conversations that you had with your parents? What did you think? Did you also think that, Russia's going to occupy Ukraine and then we will see? Or how did you talk about
it? Like when I'm saying that everything will finish soon, it's not what I meant, that Russia will occupy Ukraine. I mean that maybe they will negotiate upon something and they will make a truce. Also, to be honest, I wouldn't say that I was able to think rationally back then, because it was just like, I was worried about my mom, who was constantly, like, she was saying she's okay, but at first days, first maybe a week is the most complicated, because it's a shock and it's not something you used to. Because now, okay, air alarm, maybe I should go, maybe I shouldn't go, it's okay. But then you're just stressed. You're not. it's not something you expected. You have no experience what to do in this situation. Should you hide in the like underground parking? Should you hide after two walls? What to do if shops don't work? What to do if all the products in the shops are finished? And also my dad volunteered to go to the army, and I was worried about him because like actually he's already 56, already 57, was 56 then. So
Yeah.
like you have a lot of stress to procedure, and I wouldn't say that I was able to think rationally what will happen next. I could read, I could listen to what other people say, but I wouldn't say I made any conclusions myself. Because even before everything started, many people were thinking that it will. Many people were saying that Russia will invade. Basically, in January, I think, yes, in January there was this like common stress that Russia is collecting troops near our borders. But then in February they started moving these troops away, and everyone kind of pressed out. And I even remember that I was sitting with my friends, and one of the guy who is a journalist, he was saying, okay, like before that it was like 50-50 that it might happen. Now it's like 30-70 that like it will not happen. And then it happened. And I don't know. I wasn't able to think. I was just able to, adjust in short-term perspective, because you don't see what will happen after like 2 years or after half a year even. And I would say that I still have this. I can't plan for very long future. And I don't know if it is fully okay, but I decided that I will stick with this living here and now perspective, because it's something I feel confident now. You can't eat the whole chicken at the same time, but you can eat it like piece by piece, bite by bite. So like this is my strategy for now.
I think that's not that it needs any of my affirmation, but I think the chicken is a very good saying. I will definitely take that up in my repertoire, and I think that's absolutely right. It's interesting for me. I asked the question because I also understand I have the very privileged view of the non-concerned, right? And I believe that always makes a big difference in how you approach something. So what I mean by that, I am not part of this war in a way. I feel I am on an emotional level. And by, thinking that Ukraine needs to have our unwavering support, and that I try to keep myself informed, but I'm not concerned. This war is not in my backyard, right? So, and because it's not, I obviously have a different view and perspective on everything. And it's interesting that you would say that, because, while this was happening, all the privileged, non-concerned people were talking about in the media about how long Ukraine would last and how long it would take for Russia to take over Ukraine entirely and Kyiv and all of that. A few weeks, most experts said. And then when I ask you, you're like, that did not really concern me so much. It was more about my immediate circumstances. Right. This is what was more important to me. So this is, I think, very interesting to hear that there is this paradigm shift, and very often the way you see things has obviously to do with your direct consequences of what it is. And the view of the privileged non-concerned, I think, is something that we should also be more concerned of, and rather ask questions to people that are directly concerned and have them give their perspective. It's much more important. So then you were in Sharm el Sheikh, and are you still, what you described now, are you still taking it day by day? Because you also have found work in an agency now in Sharm el Sheikh. For I think it's a commercial agency, right? An ad agency.
Yes. My company is called Sinai Media Club, and mostly we do some commercials for hotels, restaurants. Sometimes we also shoot events like a climate conference, which took place in November, or also some smaller events for, for schools or for some artists who perform their concerts in hotels. Sometimes we also deal with small businesses like car rent or whatever, and sometimes we shoot weddings. So basically, there is I think in Europe as well as in Ukraine, you have more kind of specialization. So if you do commercials and music videos, you don't do TV series and movies. And if you do events, you don't do, I don't know, commercials and TV series. Here it's not this strict because Sharm el-Sheikh is actually very small. Sometimes for me, who lived my whole life in Kiev, it even feels like, like a village. It's not a village, actually. It's a town by the sea for tourists, but still, there is not much filmmakers here. I actually think we're one of very, very few. So that's why we can basically do different kind of projects, both big for hotels and small for some private people. And also we have a photography office apart from our main video office, and we can do photography for tourists or for boats or whatever. So yeah, this is like a brief description of what I'm doing now. And actually, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it today or not. Basically, before the invasion of Russia, I was in film industry. I was mostly managing or directing, but I didn't work with the camera with my own hands. So I was most on, like, I don't know, on either or creative part or organizing part. And now I'm also on the manual part because I learned how to work with camera, with stabilizers, and now I'm also a videographer. So yeah.
Good.
I'm sorry, you started with my planning day by day. So yeah, I would say now
Yes.
I'm on the stage of month by month, maybe something like that. But I
All
mean,
right.
okay, for example, currently I know that actually during New Year I went to Dubai from this agency sent me to Dubai to film a New Year party, and now we're also thinking maybe we will move to Dubai, or maybe part of the agency will move to Dubai. So basically now I know that maybe after 3 months or 6 months I will be in Dubai. Maybe I will not. I'm not sure about this. So I can plan for this perspective, but I still don't know what I will do after the war, because I don't know when the war will finish. And actually, I miss the level of the projects I had before, because I was shooting short movies with my friends, and I had the script of my own short movie, and I was working on TV series. And of course, these projects are bigger and more creative than what I'm doing now, because of course you can compare films and commercials. In films, you have actors, you have the job to do with them. You want them to perform in this or that way, and you're telling a story, and it's much more inspiring. But I also don't know what level of film industry will have after the war, because the problem is actually a lot of specialists, a lot of Ukrainians in general, they moved abroad, and we never know what percentage will come back or what percentage has already settled down somewhere else and already found job, place to live, maybe, I don't know, maybe new friends, maybe a spouse or whatever. So that was actually another interesting question to discuss, because many people whom I know who turned out to be abroad or just away from their home in other cities of Ukraine, somewhere on the west, no one has a feeling how deep you should, how deep you should root. So
Yeah.
how long you will spend there, and yeah, this feeling of not knowing your future, of of feeling this undefinity. It's something that stresses a lot, but I would say that this approach, which I described, like day by day, week by week, it is something that helps you to stick with the moment and not to worry about something in a long-term perspective. Well, basically, this is the solution I found for myself here. And actually, Egypt, with its attitude to plans and to time, is a lot of it's much helpful to create this perspective and to overcome the fear of future. So yeah, maybe I'm lucky that I'm here.
Yes, I do want to hear you though. Also with the being uprooted and like being in limbo in a way. When you describe that to me, it sounds a little bit like like life's promise to you was broken in a way. There was a time when there was a future and you didn't have to. I mean, maybe that's a little pathetic, but in my head, that's kind of what it feels like. We all feel there's a future waiting for us and it's ours to claim in a way. And all of a sudden, without any doing of your own, everything has collapsed. All of that, that those not necessarily straight lines, but those paths that you kind of saw for yourselves are all in question. And I think that is, I imagine at least, a very heavy burden to carry as well.
Yes, Bastian, exactly. Uh, for myself, and I think I'm not the only person. Like you have, like for example, me personally, I didn't ever wanted to move abroad for like forever or for a long time. So yes, I always loved to travel, but it was always like a vacation for a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks. But I never saw myself living abroad for long, not for studies, not for job, not for anything, because I had Kiev and I had home in Kiev, and yes, basically I had a settled life in Kiev, and then I just okay, I'm here now, and technically I can come back, but it's not safe, and it's not that I can do a lot of useful stuff there now, and basically my industry is like not in the best condition now, and all right, so I kind of need to start from scratch. Of course, it was stressful, but anyway, like looking on it from the filmmaker perspective, basically it's some new experience which I didn't expect to have, but it's something I can reflect afterwards in my movies, and it is just another point of view from the life, because to be honest, like I had quite a comfy life in Kiev, and it's not that I had to work a lot for it, because from my childhood I had pretty much everything that I needed, and I felt on the safe side because I know I have my parents; they will always help, and all of that. And now I understand that yes, my parents can still help, but they're away, and I need to solve all the issues myself. And I like at home I had we had our own place. Here I need to rent, and I need to like understand that I'm more dependable on my salary now than I used to be in Ukraine. So basically, for me, it was also some kind of becoming an adult. I would say, I don't know, maybe it sounds strange, but yeah, I think
No.
unless you are forced to move away from your safe shell, you cannot be fully considered like an adult or someone who is responsible for his or her decisions fully. And now I would say I made a step towards this. So yeah.
Can I admire your self-reflection and your positivity. It really it's amazing because this is not normal that you would look at what we just discussed and you turn around and you look at it in an optimistic and positive way. I really admire that. And even though I don't want to make this too general, because this is obviously you and you deserve the praise for it, and nonetheless, I have to say it's something that I feel I pick up on with almost all Ukrainians I speak with. This is something I feel is one of the major strengths. And if you look at Ukrainian history, and the three Maidans, like they always come up, and the incredible force that lies with the people of Ukraine in changing their own fate by also collectively expressing their opinion. It is something that I have so much admiration for, and I find it again and again and again in the people I speak with, and it humbles me very much. So this is amazing of you to say that. Um, and because I was going to ask you about the future as well, I actually had the question down here also between the TV and the film scene, working creatively like you did in Ukraine and now doing commercial work, which you have already answered. So I think that's something that you will obviously that you miss, like you said. If you look at how you've grown and your experiences that you've now made in Egypt as well. What hopes do you have for the future in terms of your work? With new skills also that you learned, has it changed your outlook?
I would say that recently I started to concentrate more on how camera works, and not only about I don't know which buttons to press or which lens to use, but also from the storytelling camera perspective. Because basically, I would say that during my film school studies, it's something I wasn't very strong in, because storytelling actors was something easier to me than storytelling camera. I mean, I will try to explain what exactly I mean. For example, you have a scene, like you have two people talking. You can shoot them in different ways. You can put camera in different places. You can be closer. You can be further. You can have your camera steady. You can move it. So basically, what I'm talking about, what I mean by storytelling camera, is which exactly shots you choose to tell the story of this conversation with your camera. And recently I started to read in more literature about it, to concentrate on how it is done in movies which I watch, and I always watch a lot. And I really hope that this year, or maybe how much it will take further, I don't know. So I think that during this time I will be able to, to fill this gap which I had before, of how to use camera to express my story better. And I really hope that it will help me to become a better director in the future. Because as I already mentioned, I had a short movie script, and I was actually planning to come back from vacation and to start working on this movie. And I already gathered my team. So I hope that I will come back to this story. Of course, I will need to update it to new realities. Okay, that will be like a sideline of the story I'm telling, but basically, I'm pretty sure that during the war and the first years after the war, this or that way, most of the movies and the literature and the music and whatever is created by Ukrainians will be somehow connected to war. Maybe not directly. Maybe you will have the war on the background, or just some little mentionings, or you will have the characters who are ex-soldiers or ex-volunteers or whatever. But basically, it's something that touched every Ukrainian. It's not like in 2014 that we had the war in East, and we had Crimea occupied. So basically, it's like 3 regions out of 24 or 25. So it didn't touch directly a lot of people then, but it did now. So for every Ukrainian, war is not something far away. It's something that you have to live with every day. Even if you're not in Ukraine now, even if even if you're abroad, or even if you're in a safe region, it's something you are related to and you can't help it. And of course, for all the creative people, normally creative people reflect what they feel, reflect what hurts them in their music, literature, movies, whatsoever, paintings. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it will influence a lot of our creatives. So yeah, as I mentioned, I will need to update my story, and I also have an idea how exactly to update it. And I guess that I will shoot this movie and with better understanding of what I want to do with my director of photography, with my cameraman. And actually, I was also thinking about making a documentary while I'm here in Egypt, um, about a Ukrainian woman who has married a Bedouin like many years ago, about 15 or 20 years ago. I don't know
Oh, wow.
if you ever heard about Bedouins, but basically they're like
Yes.
another nationality. Yeah, and it is more or less closed society which lives like in Egypt, in Emirates, and in other uh, African countries, and they live in the desert normally, and they move from place to place. And it's very untypical for a Bedouin to marry, even for example in Egypt, to marry Egyptian. because Bedouins are like they're separate from everyone else. And this Bedouin, he married a Ukrainian, so a foreigner, Agnabeya, as they call it, as they call
That's an
foreigners
amazing story
here.
already.
Yeah, yeah, and they have like 4 kids, 4 sons,
All
and
right.
they're like half Bedouins, half Ukrainians, and I just think that this family would make an interesting like collective hero to a movie. And basically, if I have a gap in between my work, because my boss was saying that maybe he will go for investigation in Dubai for about a month, and I was thinking that maybe during this month I would be able to film this family and to tell a story, how war influenced them and how they resulted into like living in this not very typical way, and how they are
Yes.
thinking like now they're living in an apartment in a local area actually nearby me, and but they also have a house in the desert with other Bedouins, and they're thinking either to move there or not to move. So I think there is a lot to explore there. I'm not sure that like I was thinking that maybe a woman could be the main character, but like I'm not still sure about it. But anyway, I think I should try to tell their story to the world, and it will be something about Ukraine and also not a typical point of view. So I think it would be interesting.
I think it sounds like an amazing story also, and this is not that you need this in any way, but what comes to mind with me and is just you, because we're also talking about being uprooted, right? About kind of this not knowing where you belong, and then you have a love story of a Bedouin, a nomad, even though he might not be nomadic now, like you said, right? And a Ukrainian woman. I think just that alone is something that is amazing to explore. But by all means, you will find your own way of exploring this. Don't take my word for it or my idea in any way, if you will. No problem at all either. Whatever you want. But that sounds like an amazing idea. So I think that's. I'm already looking forward to seeing this piece. So please keep me posted if you have the time and everything to do it, because I would very much love to see that. That's a great project. So I actually now in closing, I would like to ask you what are your hopes for Ukraine outside of your work and work related topics, of course, and besides obviously that this war ends as soon as possible. What are your other hopes for a long-term future, maybe?
I would say that currently war is being a stress, of course, but sometimes, sometimes when you're in a stress situation, you find out a new perspective and you find out a new possibilities and to even express yourself and to show how good you can work. Because even now, during this time when you have a lot of limitations and a lot of problems, there are new projects, not only in filmmaking, I mean, like in general, like in IT industry, in banking, whatever, new projects are launching. And people, of course, they need to adapt to new realities. So sometimes they just have to, I don't know, create new applications or to monitor the attacks and whatever. For example, we actually have a big jump in digitalization in developing internet banking, and also like the key application about public transport and about like state of the air, about some services. So basically, war also made a push to digitalization, I would say. So I think that eventually, after war finishes, we will have of course, we will have I'm sorry, I can't keep my mind all together. We'll have to deal with the consequences of war, of course, because there are a lot of mines
Yes.
everywhere, and we need to make our fields and our forests safe again. But at the end, we will already have some stuff which we developed during war, and I think it will inspire us to make all the services for citizens even better and better, with how we adapt to the realities, with how our institutions and private companies adapt. Actually, that's pretty much amazing. Like maybe I will just give some of examples.
By all means,
Like
please.
yes, okay, internet banking. A lot of our bank cards were prolonged for maybe a year because people are basically they're abroad. They can't. They can't come back to prolong their bank cards, and there is a bank card delivery to abroad. Yes, and also our post service, Nova Posta, which is translated like New Post, they started opening their offices in some European countries for people to be able to use it and to send some stuff to their relatives and friends abroad and to receive. And also, I read a lot of stories from people who went to Europe that a lot of services, like, I don't know, like nails, like hairdresser, like medical services in Ukraine, they are cheaper, they are better, and they are easier to access. Because in Europe, you basically need to schedule all these appointments like weeks in advance, right? So you can't just come and, okay, I need tomorrow.
Not for the hairdresser. Well, yeah. First of all, I think there's still a wide variety in Europe itself as well. I mean, and sometimes in Europe itself, things are very different in various countries. Yeah, it depends. Yes, usually doctor's appointments, for instance, in Germany, I know that they take forever, right? Like a hairdresser's appointment could be a few days if you're lucky. Sometimes you're luckier than that. It depends. It really varies. But so I don't know how quick it was in Ukraine. Was it like same day or something like that?
Like so maybe, I don't know, not same day. But basically, like tomorrow or after tomorrow, you can always reach someone. And the same is with doctors. I mean, like, it's not that you're waiting for, like, if you have if you need to visit a doctor, maybe yes, it will, like, if it's not an emergency, it will take a day or two. If it is an emergency, of course, you can find some doctors the same day. So basically,
emergencies in Germany also, there's infrastructure for that, of course. Like somebody that has their head under their arm will not have to wait for a couple of months, obviously. But doctor's appointments, generally, they can take a few months in some cases. Those are extreme cases, but it can really take some time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that a lot of people who went abroad now, they realize that actually a lot of stuff in Ukraine which you took for granted, which was okay, that should be like that, like there is other option. Yes, there is other option, and in Europe, for example, it's not that good and comfortable as you're used to.
What I'm thinking is interesting, because now what you said, obviously, if you go somewhere else and you experience it, not just visiting, but if you spend some more time there, it again puts things in a new perspective. And I think it could be a good perspective because, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is obviously a podcast where I generally don't know shit and I need my guests to really tell me what's right and what's not. Because the topic of Ukraine is obviously something you know so far and much more about than I do. But is it safe to say that there's always been like a glance towards Europe as well, with kind of like things are kind of good and maybe not better, but as a reference point of we want to improve things so that it matches in those lines a little bit more. And now you actually then you realize, the grass is maybe not always greener on the other side, and which is actually also maybe a positive thing for you to then also, transform certain things and appreciate certain things that you already have in place in Ukraine.
Yes, Bastian, I totally agree. I would even say that maybe it is something like after Soviet perspective, when Soviet Union just broke, and of course, first years were very complicated. And like our parents, they already got used to think that somewhere else is better. For example, Europe is better, like, I don't know, states are better, that people there have, I don't know, like less corruption, better services, better salaries. But many people forget, but they also have like higher prices with better salaries. Yes. So yeah, and everyone is thinking, yes, there was a glance to the Europe, and now I understand that some points are actually already more developed. even this internet banking, which I said, like, and documents. Actually, I have some applications on my phone. With one, I can access to most of my documents for like driving license, car license, digital passport, foreign passport, and all of that. And in another application, I have a banking application, and I can open another bank card or another account just from this application. And I don't need to go to bank physically, or I know that in Germany it used to be like they send you letters, like one letter with a card, one letter with a PIN code, and you need to have address. And if you don't have
You're very
address,
well informed,
where to send it will
Anastasiya.
be a
You're
problem.
very well informed. Yes.
Yeah. My friend from school, she went to Germany to study, and she was very stressed during the first months with this document stuff. So yeah, basically now we have, in some ways, we're even more advanced, and the life for like simple citizens is more comfortable and less problematic.
You know, because you have been leading with example throughout this conversation today, to see a chance in certain things, or in everything, actually. You've been doing that very much. So let's see a chance in that as well, that this will also have the positive, a positive influence on a future Ukraine that is free of war and at peace. And this is something that I hope for, and I know you hope for that, and I think everybody who's listening to this podcast as well. Now, I have just one final question for you, actually, and that would be: do you have any Ukrainian NGOs, aid agencies that people can maybe donate money to if they have something to spare? Is there anything that you are familiar with, that's something that you know that you support yourself? Or I have various ones as well, but I always want to have it from the people in the podcast because they obviously have a different insight.
Actually, yes. I'm not sure how exactly it works for foreigners, but actually, if you want, I think I can give you links afterwards. I will find out how exactly. But there is one main account, in our national bank for all the donations, and there are also some private organizations. For example, Sergei Pratula found. About the way for foreigners, once again, I need to check, because for me, once again, it's just built into my application, bank application, and I can just open it and click donate. Yeah, and also sometimes I see my friends collecting money for their friends or their relatives for cars, for some, like visors, for this sort of stuff. So I think I will provide you with links.
Gladly, I will link to that. Also, with your permission, obviously, I can link to some of your work in the show notes if you like. Let me know. We'll talk after if there's anything that you that you want to share. And all I can say in closing is I wish you all the best. I believe that sooner or later it will be fantastic when you will be able to return to Ukraine, because after everything we've discussed with the evolution of film in a country as well, and being the cultural value that film has also to transform a society, I think Ukraine needs people like you who are passionate, who are willing to improve their game and grow, and you are that. So Ukraine needs you, and I hope that you will be able to return very, very soon to do what you love. So it was a great pleasure to have you today, Anastasiya. Thank you very much for taking the time. And I'm sending you all my best wishes for the future, and we stay in touch.
Thank you, Bastian. It was a great conversation, and I'm glad that I was part of it.
And this brings us to the end of this week's ride in the Yellow Van. Thank you very much for coming along with us today. And thank you, Anastasiya, for your trust in me and the work we do at Mind the Bump Productions, and for your stories and insights. For more information on Anastasia's work, go to the links in the show notes. If you are Ukrainian and would like to come on the show or know someone who should, please don't hesitate to contact us. We are always happy and grateful for anyone reaching out to us on www.yellowvanstories.com, where you can also leave us your general feedback or ideas for improvements. We are currently setting up new interviews, so follow us on social media for updates on the next episodes. Until then, keep loving in the face of fear and stand with Ukraine. Take it away, Jim.
Took a very, very long time. But my message is clear. Keep loving in the face of fear. Keep shouting that you are here. Talking about those ideas. Loving whether far or near. Oh, can you find your place? When kaleidoscopes are breaking shade. There's a dream I breathe. Gone loving man and those in need. And I know my attitude disturbs you, and so it should. And I know my fantasies are troubling to those like you. Took a very, very long time. But my message is clear. Keep living in the face of fear. Keep shouting that you are here. Talking about those ideas. Loving whether far or near. Loving in the face of fear. Shouting that you are here. Loving in the face of fear. Of your life, are you standing for your rights? It's the fight of your life. Are you standing for your rights? It's the fight of your life. Are you standing for your rights? It's the fight of your life. Are you standing for your rights? It's keep loving in the face. Keep loving in the face. Keep loving in the face. Of your life, are you standing for your right?